Hey everyone, this is Stuart Crawford, and welcome back to the MSP show here on Blog Talk Radio. I thank all the great listeners out there who tune in every week to hear what I have to say about the MSP community. And some of the feedback we're getting is very positive, and keep pushing forward. So today I want to talk about longevity in business. So I'm joined by Matt Brown and Will Collins from NST, located on Long Island. If you don't know where Long Island is, it's that big piece of land that sticks out from New York City. I heard it's a home of a horrible hockey team. Can't complain. Although, Johnny Boychuk, I don't know, Will, if you know Johnny Boychuk. He played in Calgary when I lived there in the junior, so I guess it's not that bad. But Matt, Will, welcome to the MSP show today. Tell me, 20 years, that's a journey. Tell me the early years. Matt, I think you told me that you guys met in kindergarten.
Will and I met in kindergarten. Yeah, we've known each other for 41 years, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So 41 years. Yeah. Yeah. It's been a long but good ride, right? Yeah. It's always, there's bumps and hills but good times and bad times, but I think for the most part we've done built a good business. I think that our employees enjoy working here, and I think that I think that overall we've done a great job. I really think so. I mean, you got to figure 20 years. I mean, how many companies last 20 years, right?
Not too many. Last time I counted.
Yeah, it's been like Matt said. It's like a marriage, right? You've known each other so long that there's not only the relationship side of it, but there's the business side of it, how it affects, one affects the other, making sure that we're in the right direction, staying aligned, and really trusting each other to get over the hard parts and the bumps in the road so that the company can succeed. And being able to put ego and everything else aside for the betterment of each other and the betterment of the company has been something that has really been one of our keys to success.
Well, if you go back, guys, about 20 years in running NST, and I know, yeah, Matt, I totally agree. Bumps and roller coaster rides, all that stuff aside, prior to starting NST, you guys have known each other. I mean, there's got to be a certain element of just liking each other before you start going into business with each other. Describe to me those early days. What how did the relationship form other than being in kindergarten?
I mean, the business started kind of on a I'm not gonna say a lark, but I mean, I was gonna be a teacher. I had a master's in elementary education. I had a New York City Fire Academy number. I was gonna make a choice between one or the other, and Matt was working for a larger integrator at the time in the city after college. I was doing while I was going to grad school, I was working for a computer company during the day and going to grad school at night, and just kind of fell in love with the industry and kind of the technology and the pace of it all. And within 2 years, we said, all right, let's start a business, and kind of went out and started really, I mean, as grassroots as you could possibly be, joining local chambers and business groups and going out and trying to prove ourselves. And Matt was doing a lot of the bids and sales and finance at night, and I was kind of doing the tech work and relationship building during the day. And it worked because we didn't have the pressures of wives or kids or mortgages. So the first couple of years that we really went out and did it, we were lucky. We learned a lot. We learned a lot about what to do and what not to do. But it didn't hurt us financially, and I think that was, that's another big pillar of our successes. The early years, we learned that we kind of got entangled with some really good business people off the start, clients that kind of mentored us a little bit through some things and set us up for, kind of for the next level of success. And every time we've hit a plateau, we've been able to either bring people in or trust each other or realize what we don't know and fill those gaps and continue to go. But in the beginning, it was the time and the ability to kind of make mistakes and learn the business side of things.
So 2001, that's the same year I started my MSP out in Western Canada. I mean, there was a lot of good times back then. People, technology was still, maturing in the business world. As we know it today. We had, I think, if I reflect back, plug and play and You know, Windows
Yep.
98, NT, all that good stuff. I mean, it needed professionals like us to make it work. I mean, yeah. So we started around the same thing. It was actually probably this time in 2001 when we launched IT Matters in Calgary. Yeah, if I remember right, March was kind of the timeline. So, you know, I mean, I know what it's like. I was in the same place you guys were. What do describe me those early years? I mean, obviously, Will, you said you did a lot of tech work. Mac did a lot of sales and finance stuff in the evenings. How did you guys decide who was going to do what? Was it just like, hey, you know what, I'm good at doing this, and I'm good at doing this, and that's how we move forward? Matt, maybe I'll get you to answer that one.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. I mean, Will was going to tech school and, you know, had some degrees under his belt. And, you know, for the most part, I was a sales engineer at an integrator. So it just kind of fit really well. You know, I kind of knew where to get product and how to do quoting. You know, Will knew how to do the tech work. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And, you know, as we've grown, you know, roles have kind of, you know, changed and swerved and modified. But, you know, now neither of us do any tech work anymore, right? So
Exactly.
Will's kind of still doing what he does, right? So I mean, kind of although things have changed, they haven't really changed either.
Well, I think to Matt's point, I mean, as the company gets bigger, you reach a point where it's you know, you go from grassroots doing everything from making a coffee to installing the servers to writing the proposals to a little bit bigger with some help and some guys. And now you got to really learn how to manage people and you know, and billing and then as we've gotten, you know, as we've eclipsed, you know, 70 employees in different states, we started to really build out executive teams and you know, run more of a I'm not going to say a corporation because I hate that word, but more of a, you know, a mature business. But I think as we've gone along, like Matt said, changing roles and relinquishing control to a certain a bit has been very difficult. But it's also been one of the reasons why we continue to grow, is because we bring people in that know what they're doing and can, you know, kind of buttress up against our vision and what we want.
Well, letting go is often very difficult. I mean, I know that firsthand. Yes. So let's go back to the first, you know, that day you guys sat together, you know, wherever you guys were at that time, and said, hey, we got to hire our first employee. You just go reflect back to what, you know, what was going on? What was happening then? You know, when did you guys come to the conclusion that you needed to start bringing in your first employee? And is that person still with you today?
So I was sitting in my childhood bedroom at my parents' house, where we turned into an office, and I asked one of the interns that was helping us, what was the least amount of money I could pay him. Mm-hmm. That was pretty much how we started. We started in my parents' basement. My mother would still make breakfast for the guys if they were there, and that was it. I mean, we hired the first guy, and I think every time we've hit that level of where we need help, we've done a good job of realizing when to bring people in and how to what levers to pull to gain that next level of success and that next, you know, next plateau and that next ceiling to break through. But yeah, I still remember the day. It was crazy. I mean, and to Matt's point, how we started, to think where we are today versus where we started, it's you know, you want to pat yourself on the back, but at the same time you want to keep going forward. So you don't take too much time to reflect on that stuff. You just think about the next problem and the next plateau and the next mountain.
And is that person that you hired 20 years ago still with you today?
No, they were with us for about 10 years, but no, they actually moved. So they moved out of state.
So, you know, let's look back, guys. And maybe Matt, I'll get you to start first. You know, 20 years, a lot of lessons learned. You know, you covered a few things already. But what's the most impactful lesson that you've learned running your own MSP over the last 20 years? You know, you sit back and go, that, you know, if I made this, no, this was the best decision I made. Besides marrying Will, of course.
Yeah. Besides
yeah, more or less.
I would say, I guess, you know, relationships are key, right? More than anything. You know, when I was working as a systems integrator, you know, we had some really big accounts, some Fortune 100 accounts, and you know, there was some relationships there. But you know, when you're working with a Fortune 100 account, you know, your relationship with the the purchasing manager, right? Doesn't mean a heck of a lot, right? Your relationship that we have now with a small business owner, that's a much different relationship. It's a much more intimate relationship because you're really helping them with their business, right? And I think that's, definitely one of the key things I've learned over the, 20 years of being been in business is that, that there's no value you can put on that. We have some clients that we will, because they're such good, not only clients, but friends and that, that we would literally walk through walls for, and we have. I guess for me, that's definitely one of the things I've taken away from the 20 years is you can't put any value on that. There's no dollar figure you can put on that relationship that you have with your clients.
So you talk like relationship with clients. I would assume relationship with key vendors and strategic vendors are also important.
Yeah, they are, but they, sometimes they come and go. You may have, a really good relationship with a vendor, but something happens and something changes, and technology changes, and their business model changes. So yes, I do think that those are good relationships as well, but not as important as your ones with your clients. You're never gonna. I don't think there's anything more important than that.
And Will, what would you say was your big lesson learned over the past 20 years hanging out with this guy next to you here?
You know what? There's a lot of them. I think that the biggest thing is that not to fear bringing in people that are smarter than you. Not to fear bringing people in that you can give a task to, or a huge part of the business to run, and that's how you're going to get ahead. That's how you're going to get scale. That's how you're going to get to where you want to be. And I think Matt and I have a unique relationship in the fact that we both trust each other implicitly, but we also know that when the other guy is passionate about something, to back off, and bringing extra people in and doing things with additional executives or management team, that gets multiple people involved, that gets a little dicey. But being able to take a step back and trust other people to do their jobs, I think is a key, because that's accelerated our growth over the last 5 years.
And Matt, you did an interview with one of the other IT news outlets recently with the Certus merger.
Yep.
Where you mentioned people as being like a very valuable part of your growth strategy and hiring the right people. And this kind of goes on with Will saying about hiring people smarter than you. But, from a people management side, because that's often a side of the business a lot of people don't care for. They don't want to get involved. They don't want to get involved with. But it sounds like you've come to appreciate the value that talented people bring to the organization. Would you say that without these valuable people, NST wouldn't be where they're at today?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Yeah, I mean, to Will's point, it's like, yes, you have to learn to give up a little bit of control. You have to, trust in the people that you employ. You have to, sometimes, I'm probably not the best one at this. Realize that they may not do it the way that you want it, but by them doing it, is something less, more off your plate. But I do think that that is a big part. I do think that we treat all of our employees like family. We definitely, have that culture here. And I think that at any given time, any one of our employees can come and, have a conversation with Will and I about, anything, whether it's work, personal, kids, life, whatever it may be. And I think that's another key aspect of it as well.
And Will, Matt mentioned giving up control. You mentioned that as well. But, for a guy like me, who's a little bit of a control freak, and it's hard to let go of that control sometimes, what can you share with them and say, hey, you know what, it's going to be okay at the end if you just do this?
Well, I think empowering people, you hire the right people, but you empower them to make decisions based upon what your vision and your goal is, and your expectation. And I'm not the most detailed guy in the world. I'm a guy that, hey, I know where I want to go on the horizon. Let's just get there. And I'm not exactly going to be able to navigate us there, but I'm gonna know where we need to go. But understanding what your weaknesses are and what your strengths are, that's how you build a company. That's how you build you can't do everything yourself. Everybody's got a certain capacity. And as we've gotten older and we have kids and other things, and we're being pulled in a million different directions, being able to rely on people to get the job done is key. I mean, it's from growing it from a niche business that you're the everything, to owning a corporation that has a significant amount of value to it and is employing a lot of people. That's a huge difference.
And I know one of your growth strategies over the years has been M&A, and
Yep.
that's one of your key areas that you focus on a part of your daily job descriptions. How critical has that been to the growth of NST? I know you've done a handful of merger and acquisitions over the years. What lessons have you learned, and what insights can you share with somebody who may be looking at that for the first time?
There are a few key ones. I mean, when we were smaller and we were just getting going, that the acquisitions we did were more about the resources and the people, the techs. All right, we can get this tech and or these 2 or 3 guys and this much revenue, and it'll pay for the techs, but we really need the techs, and it was more about resources. And now it's about, now that we've gotten smarter and more sophisticated and understand, balance sheets and P&Ls and value and pre and post tax dollars. It's about the revenue and how we build that, how we can bolt that business on, and how we can make it more profitable, and analytics of what we can sell to their clients that they're not doing. So it becomes much more of a financial and strategic initiative, if you would. So the acquisitions that we've done over the last couple of years have been bigger and more complex, with significant dollars behind them. And the ones in the beginning were really just, hey, listen, you find a home, come on board. And we'll pay out for whatever it is that you're bringing. And I think we're in a position where, because we've run the business well and we've been smart and conservative, we have cash, we have capital, and we don't have a lot of debt, and it gives us the ability to go out and do things that a lot of companies can't, because of the lessons that we've learned in the past, and because of the fiscal health of the business based upon our habits. So the M&A strategy has catapulted us ahead in certain levels. We've hit certain plateaus in our growth in the life cycle. That M&A has helped us jump that level, if you would.
And Matt, I know that you're focused on marketing and sales for NST. How important has it been for you, as in that role, focusing marketing and sales, to position NST over other IT firms in the New York City metro area, but also to, as another way to grow the company is by net new client acquisition? And tell me about how important marketing and sales have been to the growth of the company.
Extremely important, because M&A takes time, right? And there's you have to go through a detailed, long process in order to get acquisitions in the door. So while those things are happening, you still got to bring on new business, right? So and you still got to focus on growing. So when we look at that, it's a key strategy to our business, is to continue to grow, to continue to bring on net new, to continue to add value and add services to our client base to make us different from the competitors that are out there, so that when we are walking into a customer or a prospect, we know exactly what we're looking to sell, how we can provide value to that company, how can we make that company more profitable and more efficient, we continue to do so, and we continue to spend money in marketing and looking at ways to grow from a net new standpoint, and to continue to provide value to the tri-state area. Even though the funny thing about this is, I will tell you this, is I saw some marketing stuff the other day where where you now have clients in 33 states across the country, which I found pretty wild, considering that we're here based on Long Island, but we do have clients in now 33 different states. So wow. That was something that I was proud of. So yeah.
And so how do you service clients in 33 states? Is it feet on the street, or is it growth by acquisition into new territories? Is it moving guy like Harrison to North Carolina? Is it a combination of the above?
It's definitely a combination, but now I think I think I saw another statistic, like 97% of all tickets are solved remotely, right? So the feet of the street is definitely less, but in those states where if we do need feet on the street, we have resources and partners available to to go if we really need. But yeah, the acquisition piece has really helped us get into 33 states too. So not only our existing client base that have expanded and grown to new states as well, but also the the M&A side that has helped us get there as well.
And Will, I know a lot of managed service providers out there will have peer groups or accountability groups or mentors or coaches. Has NST ever used any of these services or joined into these groups, and if so, how has it helped the organization over the past 20 years?
Absolutely. I think it's been probably one of the more important pieces, if not the most important piece, other than the relationship that Matt and I have. It's because it's in the beginning we belonged to groups that were more financially driven. I mean, actually, let me rephrase that. They were all financially driven and reporting and whatnot, but it taught us a lot about the numbers and the business and what levers to pull and how to read those numbers in the beginning, and then being able to bounce things off of an ecosystem of like-minded entrepreneurs has been tremendous. And as we've grown, getting involved in other groups that are with larger firms like us, it's been invaluable. And we continue to have a bevy of different people that we can turn to in the industry, whether it be Jeff Boat from our peer group or Arlen. So there's a bunch of people that I can get on the phone with and talk to at any point in time to bounce things off of, and that's truly invaluable. It really is, because it's it goes hand in hand with the control and hiring good people and smart people, because you need advice and you need different ideas and you need different perspective and you need that experience to be able to continue to grow and overcome obstacles. COVID being what it was, I mean, thank God we had a good year and we were healthy and we were able to keep all our employees and continue to push the rock up the hill, if you would, but everyone was safe and bouncing things off each other and bouncing things off of our peer groups, and having that ecosystem and that support system has been tremendous.
And I learned a few months ago that it was Ernie Sherman that introduced us, so that was just the power of peers. I know Ernie
another Canuck.
Going back to Las Vegas peak performance for Sonic Wall, we ended up just sitting next to each other, and it was kind of fate that brought us together that way, and we've been friends ever since. You mentioned COVID-19. So by the time we're recording this, it's the 22nd of March in 2021. We're a full year into COVID. What lessons did you learn during that? Obviously you guys continued to have a good year. You did an acquisition during that time period as well, and everybody was safe. But what lessons did you learn about your team and about the business, the resiliency of NST during that over the last 12 months?
The ability to be remote and still be effective and productive in executing on strategy, I think was something that surprised both Matt and I. The ability of our clients to be more resilient than we thought, our employees to be more resilient than we thought. When everything happened, I don't think there's anybody in this country who owns a business wasn't thinking the worst. But being able to, say 2-3 months later that, we had planned for the worst and hoped for the best, and the planning and plans and contingencies that we put in place, thank God weren't needed, and we continued to move forward. And just seeing all of that unfold was it's not the right word, but impactful, and seeing how the business can react during those trying times. I mean, it's changed like everybody else has changed forever. I think that the culture part and getting people back in the office is going to be a challenge, and it's more of a challenge for me and Matt, because we're used to seeing everybody and shaking hands and making talking to people, and it's just not the same. So but the resiliency of the clients and the employees was probably the biggest thing.
Do you see others, and there's kind of a look at the future now? Matt, maybe I'll turn this to you first. Do you see businesses going back to pre-COVID, or kind of a hybrid of some working remote, some working in the office, or people working part-time? And if so, how does that change the way you guys service your clientele going forward?
I definitely think it's going to be a hybrid. You're going to have people, being able to pretty much work from anywhere, whether that's the office, whether that's home, whether wherever that may be. It's going to bring in some challenges when it comes to security and to giving clients access to the data and the applications that they need. But cloud services is going to help with that, right? So today, with the cloud services, you can pretty much be anywhere and be productive and be efficient. I think there's a statistic I saw, was it yesterday or the day before, something like 22% of New York City companies expect to bring their employees back full time, right? So
you think about
that pretty low. Yeah. So so again, I think it's going to be some sort of hybrid. And I also think it depends upon the business, and it depends upon the employees as well. You have employees that, can't work remotely or can't be productive remotely, they're going to bring them back. You have employees that can be productive, and you can, monitor that and track that and ensure their productivity. Then you can have a hybrid scenario. So,
and there was a YouTube channel that I was watching over the weekend where some states now are offering incentives. Arkansas, one of them, and Mississippi, I think, is another, to attract remote workers. So I don't know, guys, if you ever have somebody says, "Hey, Matt, I want to move to Mississippi,"
right?
You can get some sort of incentive by having a remote worker there, I guess. So lots of stuff. But yeah, no, that's a good segue into the next section about the future. You guys have been in business for 20 years now. I'm not going to say, "Hey, 20 years from now, what do you guys see?" Let's just look at 5. Where do you see the world and how technology impacts business, let's say in the next 5 years? Obviously, cybersecurity is top of mind for a lot of people. Is that going to get worse before it gets any better? But what else is seeing? You mentioned cloud. What else is out there that that you guys are paying attention to without sharing any potential trade secrets?
You want to go first?
Go ahead, Will.
I mean, cybersecurity being top of everything. To dovetail on what Matt said, the hybrid work from anywhere, always available portion of the business is going to, I think, create more barriers to entry in the MSP space. I think the barrier to entry to start an MSP has been very low over the last decade. I think the talent required to do cybersecurity and be cognizant of everything and the complexities of the way the market and the way the industry and the way the technology is changing. I think it's going to be you're going to have more of that, the larger companies, and very fewer of the smaller firms, because they're just not going to be able to do all the things that we're able to do at a certain level. But it's going to be much more AI, much more automation, much more kind of push one button type of computing. And you really have to be experts. You're not going to be able to be generalists anymore. You're going to have to be experts in certain things and be able to then deliver that. And then how you're getting that business to be more efficient with that technology, and how it's almost becoming a business consultant. Everybody can sell, Azure and Office 365 and everything else, but how is that business utilizing that? And fundamentally, how are you showing them that it's an impact on their numbers? And having that business background is going to be even more important to delivering and proving your value to your client.
So I remember sitting in Orlando years ago. I'll say 5 years ago, maybe a little longer than that, listening to Arnie Bellini talk about the MSP community going forward. And he did say something around the future MSP will have more MBAs than MCSEs. Is that, Will, what you're kind of leaning to? More business technology, analytics, AI, that kind of stuff, versus guys who turn screwdrivers?
Absolutely. 100%, because the conversation's changed. It's not, all right, I need 15 desktops to do this, because my people work on this app. It's not like that anymore. It is literally, what is the impact of my business? Why am I doing this? It's security, it's efficiency, it's my employees are all working remotely. My employees, we have all these different applications. How do we put this together in the cloud, make it more efficient. What's it going to do for me? You got to be able to prove that and write that. And if you don't have that type of expertise, you can't tell that story, and you can't prove that value, and you can't bill accordingly and bill the right rate. Everybody's bottom feeding to a certain extent in price, and if you're going to be successful and you're going to be profitable, you need to charge accordingly. And if you're going to charge accordingly, you better be able to back it up.
So, and I'll leave this open to either one of you two to answer, because it kind of just spurred another thought in my head when you mentioned that, Will, about verticalization. If that's such a word, I'll claim it. If it's not, I'll put it in my own dictionary, right? But the MSPs to go really deep into a vertical. I remember when I was a Microsoft partner back in my day, that Microsoft always talk about depth versus breadth. What I'm hearing from you, Will, when you're explaining what you just did, is to really understand how an industry works, how people use the analytics, the information, the technology, whatever you have to make better business decisions. If you're a generalist, I'm sorry, I don't think you can make that proper call. Just like when I was in the oil and gas industry, I knew everything about the oil and gas industry. So I could sit down with a geologist and say, if you just did this, here's how the output would show up on the screen. They would still interpret that data, but at least I was able to think strategically with them. And if I hear you correctly, it's the need for specialization into a vertical is more important now than it ever was.
It kind of goes against the way we're designed as a company, because we do have so many different verticals, and we are across the board not really specifically focused on one different vertical. But right now, because we can speak the business side of things, and we can understand their pain in terms of the business and the numbers, and what they're trying to do from a strategic standpoint, it makes us effective. It may not specifically be a vertical. It may be, again, a business expertise, being able to help a business understand their numbers and what they need to do, and how that technology is going to make that business owner or those shareholders more money.
Yeah, I think when I say vertical, specialization to a certain industry is also lumped into that. Not saying, hey, we're only going to do this one vertical and that's it. You may have 5 or 6 different areas of specialization. Correct. So, understanding education versus the CPA versus law firms, and there's some arguments for both, specialization versus verticals or non-verticals. But I think the guys that don't have any, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, if you do not have any industry knowledge per se into a certain industry without claiming it, you may be on the shorter end of the stick going forward. But that's a good, obviously good debate that's been lasting for 20 years. To go vertical or not to go vertical.
Yeah.
But I'm a big believer, at least having a specialization, so at least how CPAs or how law firms or how construction companies use technology. Because how a construction company uses mobile computing is a lot different than how a law firm uses mobile computing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about the future. We talked about the past. We talked about everything that's helped you guys over the last 20 years. 20 years is a big accomplishment. Like I said, there's not a lot of companies that make it past 5, less to make it past 10. To make it to 20 is great. I've been only doing this for 11, so I'm a few years behind you doing this one at least. But even my MFP only lasted 7 years until we decided to pack her in. Mm-hmm. But guys, that's quite an accomplishment. In closing, I'll just put you on the spot. Matt, do you see yourself working with this guy in 20 years from now?
20 years from now? What other
Jesus.
Oh, good Lord.
20 years from now. Forget about 20 minutes from now.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are friends, your colleagues, and your business partners. That's got to say a lot.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's Will is always going to be part of my life, and wherever that is, wherever I am, 20 years from now, again, wherever I am, I'm sure, he'll either be, right next to me or, a text or a phone call away. So.
Well, you never know that big MSP from Los Angeles that wants to expand to New York may just call you tomorrow. You never know, right?
Yeah.
They will deliver gold bullion.
Or pay in Bitcoin at least.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So guys, again, congratulations on 20 years. Anything we want anything you want to bring up that we haven't discussed, or any recommend. Actually, let me do it this way. The brand new MSP who's 20 something, 30, maybe early 30s, kind of where you guys started back in the early days, are just thinking about launching MSP. Matt, what's your number one tip that you can give them right now to get them started?
I would say you got to know business analytics. You got to know BI, and I think that's if you know that, you'll be okay. If you don't know that, then you're going to be out of the game real quick.
And that's like understanding the Microsoft stack and all that too,
but also understanding from the business aspect as well, right? Is not just the stack itself, but to understand, how these analytics, how these intelligence tools and gauges and widgets and all these things can help shape and move a business. You have to understand that nowadays, because that's the value that everybody's bringing to the table.
And talk about gauges and widgets. I haven't showed this to Matt yet, but I think he'll be very happy when I show it to him. I have SEO gauges and widgets now, which if make one change, it changes the dial and shows you what the impact will be like. So I'll have to show it you one day, Matt, when I get it all baked. Will, what's your one tip you can give to the brand new guy who's just saying to his wife, I just got laid off and I'm going to go start my own consulting practice and I'm going to go with my buddy Joe. What would you give him? What advice would you give him?
Loyalty and productivity are equal. One doesn't trump the other. You don't be too loyal and don't be too focused on the bottom on the productivity of somebody. Be able to nurture people, but also they're equivalent. They're not independent of each other, and that's how you're gonna be able to build quality employees and quality departments.
So just so I understand, loyalty and productivity, can we just repeat that one more time so we understand it?
Loyalty and productivity are equal. They're not. One doesn't trump the other. Gotcha.
It's funny how you guys say the word Trump being from New York. couldn't resist.
But
actually, one of my most important business lessons that I learned was from that person where he said trust everyone, just don't trust them too much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Guys, this has been great, and again, congratulations on 20 years. Again, good ride, and I look forward to being a part of the success of NST going over the next several years. I'm hoping that we all retire together, in the next, who knows when that'll be, 5, 10, 15 years, who knows? Congratulations for this. Matt, Will, again, good journey. Website is nst-li.com if people want to check you guys out online. I'll just throw it out there. If any new guys in the MSP business wanted to ask you a question or reach out, are you guys open to having people reach out to you guys and just lob questions your way?
Absolutely.
What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Email us. Email Matt. He can filter through them and give them to me. Act as my secretary.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They'll come right over along with whatever else is flying across. Yeah.
Email through the info email?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's perfect. Guys, thanks again for doing this. NST-LI is the .com is the website. Check it out. My name is Stuart Crawford, and it's great to have Will and Matt on the MSP show this week. We do this show once every week, roughly, just out there to put great information in the palms of all your hands. And if we can influence one of you guys to run a great, successful business like these two gentlemen have, that's great. Stay tuned. We got some great episodes coming up in the near future. And make sure you follow us on Blog Talk Radio. And if you're watching this video on YouTube down the road, hit that subscribe button below and the alarm bell down below next to it, and you'll get notified when we have more great content like we have today. Thanks again, guys, for doing this. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.